Are you looking for more thrills and less spills? Then you're going to want to check out the Leoout SX10. Let's go ahead and dive into this high-powered scooter that not only has good looks with this golden black design, but also has some awesome features. We are cruising up this hill, 32, 30 miles an hour. This one actually outdid the GT88. Now the SX10 by Leoout is a high-powered scooter. This is, again, not a scooter that's designed for kids. This is something that needs to be taken seriously because these things can go upwards of 50 miles an hour. With dual motors, both front and back, you've got 1,400 watts per motor for a total of 2,800 watts. This thing can fly down the road. Now the SX10 is going to have quite a bit of different suspension setup than what the GT88 has. This has more of a dual shock design instead of a front fork. It's got this really unique kind of reverse looking landing gear type thing going on with a shock right here in the middle. Then you get this really nice fender. I love the way that this is attached because it really does prevent water from splashing up on you and wraps around this tire really well. You also get these really nice off-road compatible 10-inch pneumatic tires that are tubeless. And then down here in the rim, you will see that that's one of your 1,400 watt motors. And then just like the GT88, they equip these with some Jake super brakes. I'm not a big fan of these. They are not super, and Jake doesn't know what he's talking about, but they do get the job done. But just be prepared if you do buy this scooter that this should be the first upgrade that you do. Switch over to some hydraulics or some maybe Tektro branded or Zoom branded mechanical brakes. They're gonna be better than these Jakes. They do come equipped with 140 millimeter rotors, which seems to be adequate enough to stop a scooter of this size. And the back looks really similar to the front because you've got the same type of shock setup back here with these awesome gold arms coming off the body of the scooter that hold onto this wheel. You get the same 10-inch knobby tire, same 1,400 watt motor, same Jake super brakes with the 140 millimeter rotor, but I love this fender so much more than the GT88. It doesn't look as aggressive, but it does a better job at keeping you from getting wet if you go through puddles or you're riding in wet conditions. Now the suspension here with the dual shock setup, both front and back being similar, I do feel that this actually provides a much better, smoother ride at lower speeds than what the GT88 did. All right, let's get this guy going, see what we can do by the time we get to that mailbox down there. "53, 54, slow her down." Hit 54 on the speedometer, so this one's about 5 miles an hour off, so really close to that 50 mile an hour mark. This one does feel really good tonight. Now I've been riding these scooters back and forth, and I just keep going back and forth between the GT88 and the SX10. And right now, tonight, I am absolutely loving the SX10 over the GT88. Now something that wasn't offered on the GT88 but is on the SX10 is this awesome handle. And this thing is an amazing footrest too. This thing is solid. You can pick up the scooter right here, but there is a downfall of the scooter when it comes to carrying it around, but this is the first benefit from it. I'm going to get into the downfalls here in just a little bit. Now the SX10 does come with this really wide base. It's 9 inches wide by 21 inches long. And the fact that they didn't cut out these corners right here gives you a little bit more foot room whenever you're riding down the road. Now this one doesn't have quite the grip tape that the GT88 has, but it does have a nice grip tape down the middle that is labeled with Leoout on it. This thing has a 25 amp hour battery that has LG cells according to the website. And then next to that battery, it does have two 29 amp controllers, and this whole system runs off of 52 volts. So this is definitely a high powered setup. Now the SX10 does come with 2 charging ports, and it will come with two 2 amp chargers that have fans built inside. So you can charge this 25 amp hour battery and ride around 7 hours. Now folding up this system isn't quite as elegant as what the GT88 was, and that was a huge seller when it came to that particular scooter. The SX10 is more simplistic when it comes to its overall design. There is no adjustable stem right here, so you can't raise and lower these handlebars. And to lower it, you have to release this huge quick release, slide this up, basically get it past this little groove right here, and then the handlebars will collapse back down, but you can't use this as a handle. It doesn't lock into place. So whenever you want to pick this up, the best bet is to grab back on this handle here and then grab right here on the front suspension and lift up. In order to get this back up, you just raise it back up. Then you kind of have to work with this because this is not the easiest thing to slide into place, I'm finding. You've got to line it up just right, which isn't a bad thing. And then once you get it, you got to kind of push it down in there, and then you lock this clamp back into place. So the overall height from the handlebars to the base is actually 37.5 inches, which felt pretty good for me being 5'11". And then of course, Leoout also included a headlight on this. It's not a super bright headlight for riding at night, but it will definitely make you visible, and it's better to have one than not have one at all. And then whenever you turn on this headlight, these lights down here at the base actually do light up. So these lights in the back here do not appear to light up whenever you're braking, but if you were to turn on a turn signal, they will light up and flash. And then looking up here at the cockpit, it does have the nice gold and black accents that look really good with the scooter, but there are still some downfalls. You get these ergonomic grips that do like to twist. So this would be one of the upgrades that I would recommend if you purchase this scooter. Get some lock-on grips. Down here, we do have a similar control that we've seen on multiple scooters where we've got the dual and single motor engage button, which is nice to have while you're riding down the road. And then also you can switch from eco to turbo mode, which will limit your power in eco to around 16 miles an hour. And then turbo mode will let it go as fast as a scooter possibly can. Up here, we get the MS668 controller, which is really popular on a lot of scooters. It's got a nice kind of multicolored display. Not true full color, just basically a couple of colors, but you're gonna get your gears so you can switch through your modes depending on how much power you want. You're gonna get your miles per hour. And then down here, you're gonna get different information like your odometer, your trip, your actual voltage, which is nice to see. And then you're gonna get your battery life. The MS668 does come with a trigger throttle. So if you like trigger throttles, this is a pretty decent one. It's got two little dips right here, depending on where you like to put your finger. I find that if I put it on the outside, I get a little bit more precision control. And if it's on the inside, it's a little bit more jumpy. So I usually ride with my finger farther out on this control. And then if we take a look over on the left side, you do get your ignition, and then there's a voltage readout right here. If this gets down to right around 42 volts, you know that your battery is about dead. Even if this says that you've got battery, if this says 42 volts, you're about ready to run out. So right now we've got a full battery and it's reading 56.1.2 to keep switching back and forth. And then right here, we've got our headlight on and off switch. You've got your turn signals, and then you have your little horn. And then of course up here, we do get the no named brakes, which are actually Super Jake brakes. And these things, like I said, you're gonna wanna replace these almost as soon as you can. These things will last you through a set of pads, but I would highly recommend upgrading these, as it's one of the most important things on this scooter is to be able to stop. And unfortunately, this is one area where they did kind of cut corners and went with the Jake Super Brakes. Okay, here we are at the bottom of the hill that I climb with all of my e-bikes and my scooters. Let's go ahead and get this started. This is a 19% hill. We're gonna put it on level 3 and dual motor. Here we go. Let's get a push start. Dual motor's running. This is about 3%. We're going 34, 35. Got this thing maxed out. Hit 40, 41. And got to kind of make sure the cruise control doesn't kick in, because that can actually turn off the second motor. So we're at 19% grade. We're going 37. We are cruising up this hill. 32, 30. 30 miles an hour. This one actually outdid the GT88 by several miles an hour. So the SX10 outperformed it. I don't know what the deal is. This SX10 is definitely being a beast tonight. outperforming the GT88 in feel and also in the hill climb. It's crazy because these things have the exact same motors and everything, and they weigh the same. I think it's just a fluke. Got 20 miles an hour, let's just cruise down it. No throttle. See how this thing controls? Going down a hill. 44. This thing is outperforming the GT88 again. Amazing. Super stable tonight. Wow. Feels really good. So there you go. The SX10 did an amazing job up the hill and down the hill. Now the SX10 does cost a little bit more, and I have a feeling it's probably because of the front suspension. It's a little bit better, but this scooter is really similar to the other offerings that Leoout has, with the GT88 being the other one that I reviewed. So you're looking about $1,100 versus $1,000 for the GT88. I think the scooter is definitely a super nice scooter and it rides really smooth on the road. Unfortunately, just like the GT88, this scooter is not excelling in off-road use. The suspension just isn't high enough quality to be able to handle that. Now, just like the GT88, this one does suffer from a similar bug where if you leave the scooter on and you leave the screen on for the computer, it will actually jolt forward 1 to 2 inches after a few minutes and just kind of fall over. Luckily, it doesn't continue to engage the motors, it just jolts forward. I haven't been able to recreate it continuously, it just happens randomly. So whenever I get off the scooter, I usually tend to turn the power unit off or just turn the key off. And then that way I know that the scooter is gonna stay in its place. And there you go, that's the SX10. I'll put some links in the description below, but until then, we'll see you guys in the next one.